Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to intergalactic flight number 14 out of New York Rocketport, destination Moon. We are now 102 miles over New York City. You may unfasten your safety belt. The pull of gravity will no longer trouble you.
DSR.FM.
How long have you been DJing?
About 28 years now. Yeah, I've been really thankful to be able to have all these years and to be as interested as I have been in this form of music.
And what sparked your interest in hip hop from the way back in the day?
I started out as a drummer, and when I reached junior high, my best friend Chris Cook had an uncle who was a DJ who lived with him, and he used to bring records back and forth from New York. And once I saw him DJing, I was hooked. You know, it kind of took over every sensibility I had towards music, and like the drums were so much bigger than the rock breaks that I was mimicking as a drummer. The whole sound just was felt like it stole like the whole bad boy image out of rock and soul at that time. You know, it just had a rougher edge, and it was new, and it spoke to me. So that was my intro to it.
You said you were in California at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So at that time, was like Egyptian Lover and stuff like that popular? That sound?
Yeah, I mean, well, Egyptian Lover is like a local, very local favorite kind of thing, you know. But the group that got me really into hip hop was UTFO. You know, and Mixmaster Ice, and watching him DJ and seeing them perform, you know,
Yep.
and the Bite It video, and you know, he's cutting up platinum records. Just that the whole mystique behind Mixmaster Ice is who I really owe my career to.
So you kind of gravitated at that time more towards the New York sound that was going
Definitely.
on.
Yeah, well, I mean, New York,
The,
New York, there was barely any West Coast sound at that time. We were getting sprinkles of things coming out of LA, but there was that period of time where we were waiting for the music to come from New York in order to kind of react.
How about the name Numark? I know your name's Mark, so I'm sure that's the origin of it, but any affiliation with the
It's actually really
equipment?
Yes,
Numark equipment, that's
it's a
probably
silly story. It was just like I need a DJ name, and this was like in 85, 86, and at that time they had the best mixers out, and my DJ partner was like, "Oh, it's probably underneath your nose," and I was DJing on a Numark mixer, and it just stuck. Yeah, so I never changed it, but most of the homies call me Uncle Nu, so
Yeah.
maybe I'll make that transition.
So I guess back then it was Numark or Gemini or Radio
Yeah.
Shack or something.
Pyramid,
Yeah.
GLIs, yeah.
You mentioned Mixmaster Ice from UTFO. What other DJs and producers influenced you?
Well, definitely Bambaataa for his selection. You know, he had the greatest record collection, and of course Herc, and then Cash Money, Jazzy Jeff for being so clean and just precise. Of course Premier, and later on, Qbert for cutting ability and stuff like that. But yeah, there's so many to name. I mean, there's so many DJs I look up to that really have formed my opinion about how I approach DJing.
So the current tour is coming to an end. You've been on tour all summer. Can you compare this tour to the last time J5 was on tours, as far as attendance or feel of the crowd? Has hip hop changed as far as J5 is concerned, as far as crowd support?
Oh, as far as crowd attendance, it's bigger now. I mean, we play the Greek Theater in LA and in San Francisco, and those are much bigger than what we would have done back in the 90s, early 2000s. But yeah, this is more like a reunion. We're looking at more like a family celebration. You know, it's more of a celebration than a tour, I'd say. You know, just good to be back in markets that we used to play, and it's J5's 20-year anniversary, and it's Word of Mouth's 15-year anniversary. So it's really just a family reunion at the end of the day.
So that was my next question, basically. So this tour is a reunion tour. Is this going to lead to a new J5 album? I know you have the single that came out, but
yeah, we don't know yet. We're kind of we're taking it step by step. You know, the landscape of the music business has changed drastically. You know, it's the complexion has changed completely, and so I think we're just kind of surveying what's around us. You know, people always ask, you know, is there gonna be an album that comes out? But we're like, do you really want to hear an album? I don't know not one person around me that listens to 16 songs back to back. You know, but they're all say, is there going to be an album? So maybe there's an EP in the works. I know there's talks about completing this documentary that we started. There's even talk about a live album, but you know, we're just taking it day by day and seeing what's going to really speak to us.
Speaking of EPs, that first EP that was released, I think it was it on Rampage Records or?
It's on Rumble, and then it later got picked up by
the
Interscope.
logo on there looks very similar to a Power Records logo. So I don't know if you or maybe Cut Chemist had something to do with the design of the Jurassic 5.
Oh, you mean from the comic books,
Yeah,
Power Records?
Yeah, Power Records. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was our whole comic book era, So yeah, that whole thing is just kind of mimicked off of the comic book feel, so to speak.
We all know J5 is I don't know if you want to call them a throwback group, but you kind of pay homage to Cold Crush Brothers, Fantastic Five, Treacherous Three, even Beastie Boys, where people finish each other's lines and everything. Out of all those groups, which group is your favorite?
God.
Those type of groups.
I mean, I'd have to probably say Cold Crush, and then of course later on Run DMC. Yeah.
Now J5 had, I believe, 3 full-length albums, right?
Yes.
Between Power and Numbers and Feedback, this is what you call it, after Interscope was there, it seemed you were heading more in a mainstream direction. Was that a group decision, or was Interscope steering you guys in that direction, or it just kind of happened?
Interscope never even picked up the phone to talk to us, really. I mean, they spoke to management and everything, but they never chose our singles or any of that. I think, I know the MCs definitely wanted to work with different producers, and that had a lot to do with it. Scott Storch isn't going to produce an underground sound, neither is Salam Remy, so to speak. I mean, he has done underground stuff, but, he was doing more things for mainstream. And so the 6 songs that I produced, when I was 3 songs in, Cut left the group, and I just continued in my rooted J5 sound. Red Hot, Where We At, In the House, those are all like very J5 sounding songs. And I let the MCs pick who they wanted to work with for the second half of the album.
Okay. Speaking of producing, you have you have solo projects that you do, and you produce for J5. Is it more difficult to produce for J5 because there's multiple MCs than when you're doing a solo project with an MC?
It's give and take. When you have your own project, you could be the final say, you could be the only say, and the final say all in one, flash. With a group, you're waiting on the next man's opinion to see if he's down with that maneuver or that choice or that verse or that beat or whatever. So for me, it was just like I wanted to paint a certain picture when it came to like my album Broken Sunlight, and I just flushed it out. I didn't have to wait for anybody to say, no, that's not an A side, or that's not a B side, or that's not single worthy or whatever. The good part about working with J5 though is that you have a lot of people's opinions, and there's a lot more input, and there's a lot more baton passing, so to speak. So you have more creative palettes, more brushes hitting the canvas, and it can, when things click, it can make for kind of a rapid fire completion of the painting. You kind of get to where you want to go to very quickly, because everybody has an idea and they're like, yeah, not that part, but yeah, that part. It just kind of, there's an open dialogue and kind of frenetic energy that just
Once it happens,
spills
it
out.
just
Yeah,
goes.
when you're one guy, you really have to work overtime. I mean, like you're thinking about ideas as you're falling asleep.
Again, you lead me to my next question. You work with a lot of different MCs on your solo projects. You work with Doom, J Live. How do you select which MCs you want to work with? Does it just happen, or do you when you?
I don't select anything. The music always selects everything. You know, like if I make a song or a beat or whatever, or even like a rough sketch of a beat, it's just drums. I'll know whose voice should be on it. Can I get that person all the time? No, not all the time, but I'll try. I mean, I cold call people all the time. You know, like and some of them know who I am, some of them don't. Some don't give a shit. Some of them really care. You know, so for me, I'm just like, you know, that relentless producer that needs to feed the beat the right
so you make
spotlight
your draft of your beat and you have an idea already of who should be rhyming on that.
Yeah, no, like I mean, and even the beat leads me to the beat. So like if I just say I'm going to start someplace and it starts with just a kick drum, well, that's going to ask for a certain snare drum, and then that's going to ask for a certain bass line, and that's going to ask for the melodic line. I'm not doing anything. I don't do shit.
So
all I do is let the music lead me to where it's supposed to go.
So do you usually start with your drums, or do you have a sample you start with and then build drums, or it just depends?
Depends on the music. Sometimes there's a record that's just such a bomb record, I might start with a melodic line or a loop, or I might have a bass player that's inside the studio, and I always let the music lead. I don't try to force anything. It's like I'm on some Be Like Water shit, you know? Like it just takes me to where it's supposed to go, and I never fight it.
That's good. Some people can't do that.
Yeah, it's tough. I learned it in my late 20s.
Now we spoke about MCs you work with. J Live seems to be coming back. I know you produced a song on his new album. Yeah. I think Walk Light.
Yeah.
So what's the connection there with J Live? You seem to have a good chemistry there. You guys go back and forth and do a lot of stuff together.
I just don't understand how that dude isn't like a multi-millionaire by now. It's just one of those.
He's so talented. You know, he's like one of the best MCs.
Yeah, it's just one of those wonders of the world. Like I just sit and I look at him, and not to mention he's just a kind human being, just a good dude at the core. But then every time I hear him rhyme on something, it just works. Like he makes some of the. I've heard beats that he's rhymed on that I don't care for that he makes sound great. I've heard guest vocalists on his album that I didn't care for at all that in my opinion, was shitting all over. Both on his records and on other people's records. He just feels like an MC. Like it doesn't feel like anything forced. It doesn't feel like that truck driver hip hop that you hear. It doesn't sound like frontin' New York shit. It doesn't feel like weird Cali shit or forced Southern shit. It just feels right to me. You know,
it's just natural with it.
Yeah.
It just comes. I don't know.
Yeah, and I guess a lot of my beats call for his texture on it. So I don't know. I mean, and you know, and on top of that, like on my album, like he the song Tonight, I told him what I wanted to do, and he turned in the first version, and I was like, man, I'm really looking for something a little different than this. I want you to go harder, you know, with this, and this, you know, and I explained what I really wanted, and he didn't even blink an eye. He said, yeah, no problem, I'll get it to you right away. A lot of MCs, they have like the ego shelter where they're like, no, my rhyme is the illest, like, you know. Him, he's like, no, I want to make it the dopest song possible. So he's open-minded, and that goes fucking a million miles with me. I'll continue to work with an artist that's open-minded. That's why I worked with Slim Kid Trey. He just trusted me. Like, I trust you. Like, even when his musical intuition was telling him to do one thing and mine was telling me to do something else, he was like, let's go with yours. I want to see what it's going to do. So, yeah, it goes a long way.
Now, also, on Broken Sunlight, you had a song with Large Professor.
Yeah.
And the song was basically about graffiti.
Mm-hmm.
Now, have you ever been a writer? Or was that?
Yeah, I was a terrible writer, though. I was terrible. That was actually a good awakening experience when I was about 12 years old, because I quickly realized that was just like my kid phase. Like I always, you know, I'm a creative person, so I always used to draw and have fun and loved, you know, watching Wild Style and all that stuff. Like, you know, like I had such a deep appreciation for graph. But it was my wake-up call, like, nope, you're supposed to leave the art side, the visual side of it. You're not a visual person. You've been playing drums since you're 7 years old. Leave that alone. It's just a little hobby, a little fun thing to do. Plus, what you're doing is whack. So I let it go, and I put all my energy towards music.
So that song there was where the again you had the beat.
Mhm.
Did you intend that song to be about graffiti, or did just large
No,
professors just come in there
actually-
and write their lyrics?
No, there's a clip on the internet of me playing beats for a Large Pro, and he actually ended up picking a completely different beat, and he's like, okay, I'll be here tomorrow with the song written, and he came by, he's like, actually I want to change the beat. It surprised me, but I think he chose wisely. Actually, I think the beat that he chose was actually more up his alley than what he said he liked the previous day. So
I love that beat. That whole song is.
yeah, I mean that song is something I'll forever be proud of, because it just it's not trying to be anything that it's not. It's just right there. It's what it is. But no, he's the one who came up with the concept for that. He's like, I want to compare, crime and graph and go back and forth and dance in between the two, and the way he shaped his words, and he just knocked that shit out in like I think 2 or 3 takes, and it's just like in the footage online, I'm like, I had like a glass of wine and I was just listening to his verse with my engineer. I'm like, dude, is it okay if I hug Extra P? I mean, that's very un-hip hop, isn't it? Like, so he's just one of those pro dudes, Large Pro. The reason why they call him pro.
Now, I know you probably used an MPC at one time. Do you still use an MPC? Or do you have a digital workstation now?
I went back and forth for a while. Now I'm on Ableton Live and Machine. Yeah, but for a long time I was on MPC. A very long time, most of my career.
How about your DJ setup? Serato?
DJ setup is I have Serato. Well, it depends. I mean, it depends what kind of setup I'm being asked to do. I do a lot of 45 parties, but I do, Serato. When they just want me to play music for people to dance to. What up, E? And then I also get asked to do my kids' toy set, which is the Serato plus a whole stage filled with children's musical toys. So it depends what it is.
Now with Ableton and Serato, it seems like it's a lot easier for anybody to be a producer now, and it doesn't take as much effort or work. What are your feelings on
It takes a different type of work. It takes you have to be much more of a nerd now. You have to be a file management geek.
Yeah, as far as finding your records and stuff, but I mean,
Yeah.
the software will match beats for you and put stuff in time for you, which
Definitely.
And it seems you can just grab a CD full of loops and now you're a producer.
Pretty much.
You don't have to go dig for your own stuff.
No, digging isn't important.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing or both?
No, it's both. It's both. You have accessibility to things quicker. When I'm DJing, I'm finding myself to be more of a creative DJ now, because I can jump to parts in the songs quicker. So my ideas are limitless. So for a guy like me that's always dreaming big and thinking of, 5 foot in diameter turntables and like, how do I get a record necklace to work? It's stuff like that. It helps me to get to the meat and potatoes of what I'm trying to get across to the listener. For the lead singer of the rock band that wants to make some extra money and be a DJ out of nowhere, or the actor, that wants to be a DJ, whatever, they just jump in and
Now they're a DJ.
step all in our lane and shit all over it.
Yes.
Leave a mess behind, then go back to their job where they make millions.
Yeah, that's the downside. What upcoming projects do you have going on? You have
I just finished an album with Slim Kid Trey from Farside, and the first single is called Bouillon, like soup bouillon, and it features Dell from Hieroglyphics and Murs, and that's out right now. It's actually a free download, and we just finished another single called Bom Bom Fire. That's like kind of like it's half hip hop. It's like a hip hop, Iranian music, and reggae all rolled up in one, and it's a really stylized video. It's dope. And then the album has a lot of great features. It comes out September 9th, but the one after this, it's a great album, man. I'm excited about this project. I haven't been this excited about a project in a long fucking time. But we got a single with Diamond D. J Live makes an appearance, actually. Durando he's a Bay Area singer that passed away, rest in peace. Durando, this was the last song he recorded before he passed away. So yeah, it's some great features. It's a really dope album. And it's coming out on Delicious Vinyl.
And when is that coming out?
September 9th.
September 9th.
Yeah. We're all DJs. From the beginner 11-year-old kid that's in his basement trying to figure out some whack gear with controllers to, Cuber. We're all DJs. We're all under one roof. We're all in the same family. We're all trying to figure it out, trying to find our own lane. And some people can find that hole and run right through it. Other people can't, and it's just a side hobby. Some people do it in a real commercial fashion and make $750 grand a night without even DJing and playing pre-baked mixes. Some people sweat their asses off on stage and get paid maybe $200, $300 a night, but they have the most incredible skills in the world. So it's just different brands and different types of people. It's driven really by the consumer who wants to see them. Some people have good ears, other people have 10 ears. They can't hear shit. So it just depends on how many people you can pack in that room. That's what's going to dictate your salary and your notoriety, I guess.
Death Star Radio.